and I like start the timer. I'll edit for like a minute or so, and then just the timer goes off. I'm like, oh, okay. I lean back and lift some weights again.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joe. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Viral Nation. I'm so incredibly excited to be able to be having a conversation with Nick Pro today. Nick's been, one of the creators inside of Viral Nation's ecosystem who's not only helped our business to grow, but, frankly, has inspired people on our teams. And Nick, I defer to you, but the way you're described internally is as if you're almost family with this team and family with Viral Nation now. So it's been really incredible to watch you grow and to see you continually break kind of boundaries and develop and kind of lead the space you're in. So just so honored to be chatting with you, Nick, and excited to kind of unpack what Nick's about and the space of it.
Oh, that's awesome. It's so nice to hear that you guys like consider me like family, because that's how I feel about Viral Nation.
Awesome, man. Yeah. And it's true. But like, when we talk to the teams or, I also notice too, like when we're down in LA for something, you're always coming in for the team and trying to be there and support us. And that doesn't fall lightly on the Viral Nation crew. So we thank you, man. And, again, like, the growth spree and what you've been able to do in a space that is so unique is just so unreal. And I honestly, I guess we'll unpack it a bit, but I honestly credit it to just your work ethic and amazing personality, man, because, what I've learned being in the creator space for such a long time, Nick, is that half the battle is wanting it. And the other half of the battle is just working your butt off to try to get it. And I think you've kind of done both. And that's why, for me, at least watching you over the last few years, it was success no matter what. It was just figuring out what it was going to be in and how it would unfold. So it's super cool. But would love to kind of just, for anyone who doesn't know Nick or who's going to, find out about you through our conversation, et cetera, would love just, where'd you start? Where did it go? What are you doing now? What do you love? And just, what's Nick all about and just high level?
So I started off, I'm a professional parkour athlete. I started off posting videos really slowly, casually in 2010. And this was like just posting my skills like on YouTube just to share. I wasn't trying to become a YouTuber. Wasn't trying to become famous. It was just like wanting to share my stuff with the world. I was not monetized, like did not consider it a job. And then in 2017, my friend and I, we had a conversation. He was another parkour friend. And we were like, you know what? Let's like actually make a conscious effort to try to become YouTubers. And then 2 to 3 times a week, we would upload videos, him on his channel and me on mine. So that would be like us two together would be like 5 videos a week. We'd be at the gym, the parkour training facility at night until 2, 3 a.m., sometimes filming just because that's the only time it was available to get these videos in. And after a couple months, like we'll say maybe 6 months of really going at it, I got my first like silver play button, so 100,000 subscribers. And that's when it started to pay the bills.
Wow. And you're Canadian, Nick, no?
That's right, the capital. So Ottawa, Canada.
Ottawa. Yeah, and I'm in Toronto, Canada, and not a lot of people know this, Nick, but Viral Nation was founded in Toronto, Canada. Me and my partner Matt, 11 years ago. But my whole idea at that time was just like the viewership that creators are getting and the amount of influence that they have. And I don't mean influence as in like the sense of like how they use it in the industry all the time, but like influence in terms of like how many people were engaging with this stuff. It just kind of like dawned on me that like this has to be the future. So like Nick, I literally closed up everything I was doing. I had my job. I had like a part-time startup, and I was just like, I'm going to go all in with creators. So for the first couple of years, like we'd share hotel rooms in LA or crappy Airbnbs, or we would like go on the road together. I remember being in New York with like Scotty Sire and David Dobrik and all the guys we represented kind of in the first tranche of Viral Nation, and like trying to figure out how we could get a hotel for $150 and all stack into it. So, that journey of like, trying the parkour stuff. And then, you were one of the only people at that time who was like, the gym's empty after 10, like, let's make content and let's see where this goes. Like, what gave you, Nick, like the confidence or like the mentality that made you feel like that was a big thing? Was it driven more by like your love for the sport and your love to be able to kind of like the achievement of parkour is people seeing the uniqueness of what's capable kind of with the human body and like, you know, where you can go? Or did you see the opportunity to like take something you loved and turn it into something really meaningful? Like what was the driver when you like went for it?
So I'd say there was two drives. One, parkour's my life. I've been doing it for over 18 years, competitively done international competitions, but there's very little money in it. You can win competitions, get a few $1,000s, but that won't pay the bills for the rest of the year. So I've been trying to find a way to monetize it or make it a living for like a decade now. So I've had like my own clothing line for parkour, like apparel. I've had like a parkour mobile app for iOS and Android that I developed and like programmed myself. I went to stunt school so that I could at least see if I can use my acrobatics like in movies and such. I did like shows locally at festivals and all that stuff, but yeah, so the whole time I was always trying to like monetize and like do what I love for a living. The second biggest drive is freedom. I like, as much as I respect people doing 9 to 5 jobs, and if you do what you love, it doesn't really matter like what it is. But for me, I studied in a joint honors in computer science and mathematics, and I was like, I don't see the point. I love math, I love programming, I love all of that, but I couldn't see the end result because I didn't want to be in a cubicle writing code for someone else this whole time. Right. I wanted to create something like my own vision. So now I've developed my whole brand, the Nick Pro name and like channels. So now I'm able to have my own freedom to be my own boss, to do what I want, when I want. And that was like the biggest drive for me to have that kind of freedom. And on top of the financial freedom that comes with it too.
The parkour community, if you put it all together, is not small, right? The problem always was the only way that something like parkour or something like paintball or something like paddleball or something, you know, emerging or special that had like a big community attached to it, the only way that would thrive or be monetized is if it ended up on mainstream TV, right? So now all of a sudden there's like the parkour channel, or, you know, MTV does like a really dope spot that's like, you know, Wednesdays at 7 or like whatever. So it's just so hard to get that coverage. And then as a collective community, it's hard to like get everyone to work together to get the message out, because where are you going to put it? And it's interesting because like social gave such a massive opportunity to expand things that people really love that weren't big enough to be mainstream. Like look at Red Bull's success, Nick, in extreme sports, right? The reason they're on top of their game is because 10 years ago, when there was no way to do what you did on YouTube and stuff like that, they were the company saying, I'm going to sponsor the downhill mountain biker and I'm going to shoot it from a helicopter and I'm going to put it on like, you know, adrenaline TV. And I'm going to, you know, so I kind of find like you have obviously so many friends and people in the parkour space. Like, do they recognize the amount of traction you gave everyone and how much doing what you did and building your channel and exposing that industry did for that industry? Like, have you ever talked about that or thought about what you've created for other young guys maybe who are doing parkour around the world who are like, I can monetize this now, or like, there's a path for me here, or like, you did that, man. So like, I wonder if you ever think about like the implication of that on the industry you love.
I personally think about it a lot just because some of the parkour community, like, from my experience, the pros that I talk to, because they're my friends, I've competed against them. They're trying to do exactly what I'm doing. So turn their passion into their job, and not many people have done it like successfully to like this extent. So from the conversations I have, they respect me. It's the ones before that they don't really see the impact that it's had. And I don't mean to say this in a prideful way, but like the amount, there's thousands, tens of thousands of kids that even for just one semester or whatever, one session, have tried parkour, gymnastics, whatever it is, through
Yep.
like my videos, but through that, like it's supply and demand. So through that demand, now those parkour like classes, now they need coaches, and now I've given like those parkour athletes a job just through my videos, like across the world.
Wow.
Now, because of that, more kids want to get into parkour gymnastics, which means more jobs in the industry, like as a parkour coach, and even just locally too.
And I can feel that shift a little bit too, Nick. Like I remember when I was young, growing up in Toronto, I played hockey and stuff like that. And, when I was like 12, 13, 14, whatever, I remember like one of my coaches being like, man, you should go do gymnastics in the summer, because like if you do gymnastics, it'll help you so much with like your flexibility, your mobility, your joints, that type of stuff. And I'm like, dude, like that's, girls do gymnastics. I can't go there. You know what I mean? Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was an option. I thought I'd be like the only guy there. And what's interesting is like, I have a 5-year-old daughter now, and I have a 3-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter, etc. My 12-year-old daughter was really into gymnastics for a few years. Not in the last few years, she's gone quite a bit, and lots of boys. And they're like, they're rocking it, man. And like, and it's cool. Like, it's not, when I was a kid, sometimes I think that, it was something reserved for girls. Right. So,
It's true.
And from a parkour perspective, like that's one of the things I was really excited to ask you is like, there's such an element of fitness and accountability to your body involved in what you're doing. Like, how do you balance kind of the crazy job of being a creator that me and you know and love, and what goes into, producing and post-production and organizing and all that stuff, with what your body needs in order to be safe doing what you're doing and continuing your journey, right? Like, is it something that's natural, or do you like really intentional about your shape and how you treat your body so you can continue to like win in the space?
So it's both natural, like, and not, in the sense that like my body's used to it. It's used to training 6-10 hours a day, depending, or like I'll be filming in the gym, doing flips for 6 hours, and then I know I need to go home, so I'll start editing that video on my laptop while I'm working out, because I need to work out like 6 hours a week, which helps a lot with longevity. So I'll literally be doing squats, bench pressing, whatever. And then in between sets, I have a timer, and I like start the timer. I'll edit for like a minute or so, and then just the timer goes off. I'm like, oh, okay. I lean back and lift some weights again. So, but at this point, my body is used to that like high stress. But some days when I do need to like really be fresh for the next day and stuff, I try to go extra hard, like have some recovery boots that like go all the way up to my, like from my feet to my hip.
Yep.
I massage my legs, ice baths, stuff like that.
That's awesome. So Nick, like you're at a critical part in your journey, right? You've I think kind of broken through, obviously the ceiling of like that startup in the creator space, and then you went through, years of, I guess learning and adjusting, and then now you've reached this level of, I think your YouTube channel is now like the 5th biggest channel in Canada or something like that. Someone gave me a note on that. What do you want, Nick, at this point? Like, what is important to you, both from your business perspective and social, but also from your personal life? And is it the same as it was when you started?
No, it's completely different. When I first started, honestly, I had no idea. The most followed parkour athletes on the entire like planet had like 1 million, and that was like the cap, and that those were like super well known. So now like never would I've thought that I would have be literally collecting like play buttons, like 3 silvers, 3 golds here, and then
That's
the
incredible.
diamond there, that's 10 million. Like that had never been done before, a parkour athlete
Right.
reaching that amount. So what I want now is weird. Like I always need to have goals as an athlete, and I want to keep pushing myself. But at this point, it's like I got the 10 million play button. the 100 million play button is super far ahead, and I don't even know if that's realistic. So I kind of just want to like do I want to do like bigger budget videos, like something that'll make like my soul happy, but also like entertain my audience. Like, for example, Red Bull did this really cool one years ago with a parkour athlete where it was on a train and they had a course going like against the momentum of the train to make it look like Yeah, it's so good.
Makes it look like you're standing still.
Yeah,
Right?
like a video
Yeah,
game.
I've seen it. Yeah,
And
yeah,
like
yeah.
stuff like that, it would be like, you know what? Even if it flops, that would be so much fun. And like, I'd love to get into stuff like that. So that would, expanding my team and whatnot would help with all of that. But I think that's like my main goal, doing cool things like that, that I can look back when I'm older and maybe like retired from, at least the parkour aspect, and just be like, wow, like I did that. That was fun.
That's sick. Yeah, and you know what, man? Like, I think that's special. And you've seen guys like Nick, like folks like Mr. Beast, for instance, or the Paul brothers, or you know, some of these big names on the YouTube side of things, Mark Rober, you know, Unbox Therapy. You know, when they get to that level, they're like, I want that elevated new shit that people just are like, what is going on? You know, it's that because you have the base, right? And it's like this idea of this natural evolution into being able to drop things that, you know, a regular creator can't touch or can't do, right? Like I remember back in the day when Casey Neistat, the guy, the YouTuber from New York, did that Mercedes salt flats video, and it like broke the internet. And I was sitting there with my wife and going like, that must have been the coolest day's work that's ever happened to any individual that I've ever seen. Dude, he was surfing behind a Mercedes on salt flats, right? And it's like, I could see the joy was what was creating the content. He did also, Casey Neistat did that one where he also like snowboarded behind a drone in the early days of drones. And like, I just remember saying like, this guy is cleaning up, doing things that he really wants to do. So like, I totally get that part. When you get to your size and you put as much in as you've put in and you have this audience, it's almost like there's this pressure to continuously make sure we're making the right moves. And I know obviously Viral Nation works with you on a bunch of that stuff and helps, but how are you thinking about the business of being a creator in your shoes today and through what you've learned? And like, what do you have aspirations there that you're looking to unlock?
It's a little conflicting. I come from YouTube, the long form like YouTube era, and that was like that's my favorite because it's also where like the money is. You know, like if you look at Mr. Beast, of course, like I can get more per view with a 10-minute long video than a 10-second like shorts. But it seems like a lot of people are just consuming short form content, which makes monetization a lot harder. There's a lot of strategies that people like companies have been taking, like background music on YouTube is now a new form of income and whatnot. But yeah, it's just it really separates the audience between short form consumers and long form consumers. And it seems like, at least from my experience, a lot of my audience is younger on YouTube. So it makes it scary that like at a certain age, they almost maybe outgrow the, let's say, being able to watch a 20-minute long like Mr. Beast video. Maybe they won't have that kind of time anymore and they'll just be scrolling through TikTok. But the monetization on TikTok is actually non-existent in Canada. We've never, except for brand partnerships that Viral Nation is great with. I make more than I ever thought I could on TikTok. But yeah, it's that's the part that like is more conflicting because as much as making short form is way like easier, like I don't know, you just feel a little more fulfilled making like long forms.
But my thing though, Nick, honestly, like I think about this stuff obviously a ton, and I'm always like on behalf of you and the talent that we work with and stuff, I'm like trying my best to be as like entrenched in the platforms on what's coming. You know, I've been to White House briefings on like TikTok. I'm out there for you guys every single day. I still feel though, Nick, it's like Listen, short form content is like modern day crack, right? Like it is. And they know that, right? So you've created this expectation of short form content for the daily consumer. And that's why you get people say, like, you go into a restaurant, every young kid's just flipping through their phone, you know, but there's also other stats. Like, for instance, YouTube's viewership from home devices is at the highest it's ever been in YouTube's history, meaning there are more people at home flipping to YouTube on their TV than Netflix, right? So that gives me a lot of hope in terms of like people's behavior, right? So the level of engagement and the amount of time people watch your content is very similar to Love is Blind on Netflix, but Love is Blind costs 400,000 an episode, right?
Ooh,
And, like, you know what I mean? So it's like there's something weird going on, because like if you go tit for tat, like Nick, your weekly consumption of long form content versus TLC, you're not far off. They've just gone through decades of monetization that
yeah.
set a precedent that content was worth that much. The problem with influencers are a guy like you, Nick, can create a long form piece of content by themselves that's just as engaging, just as long, and people like it just as much as a movie. The difference is that creators, frankly, don't get a fair value for that content, because even when you get paid, Nick, you're getting paid on viewership. You're not getting paid for the actual content itself. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity still for that to continue to emerge, because here's the thing. Netflix can't bang out long form content as fast as creators can, right? Like if you look, Nick, online, like one of the fastest growing categories in YouTube right now is YouTube golf. And we've been watching it really intently, but the average video length is 58 minutes. Which is to me, like, that breaks every rule of YouTube. Like everything in our playbook of do not do that, like they're hitting all of them, but people are watching it, Nick, and they're watching it all the way through. So I truly believe that if you can crack the content formula as a long form creator, people are going to continuously keep coming to places like YouTube to watch it. And hopefully they do really, really well. So, you know, I just think that the world of short form content, Nick, is your vehicle to get people into your environment. It's your vehicle to continuously market yourself in new places. Like there's no debating that a TikTok video has a way higher probability of going viral than a YouTube one does. Like hands down. Dominating those other channels helps you to continue to put your tentacles out into the world to bring people to Nick, so they can learn your personality, learn your content style, and build into the community, right? And my prayer for like the industry and our team and you, and like that I think about every day is like, Nick, if the world catches up in terms of valuing what you do to how traditional media values what you do, you should be making $100 million a year, right? So it's like, what does that world look like 2-3 years from now when people are looking at the content you're creating, Nick, as just as good, just as valuable as the stuff we're used to in traditional media? And that's what motivates me every single day, Nick, as the CEO of this company, is like, how do I continue to help that shift happen? Right? Because I think that what you're doing and what our creators doing is transforming the world. I just think that the big machine hasn't moved the needle to us yet.
It's true. Like I was on a reality TV show, and I don't have the precise numbers, but I tried to look up online like the average viewership, and it's honestly like 10 times lower than like what I pull on, like just as one person on my YouTube channel. Like sure, I'll get someone to hold the camera as for necessity, but I script it. I perform, like I talk in it. I do the flips. I edit it myself. So it takes like, if I edit everything myself, it's almost like some of them are almost free to produce, right? Where they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars an episode to get like a fraction of the views.
Nick, we represent a young girl named Like Nastia in our family division.
Oh, she's at like over 100 million, isn't she?
Nick, she does 100 million views a month. Oh. I bet you she does more views than Disney Plus.
Oh, that'd be an interesting comparison.
But here's the thing, Nick. It's like the world of parents putting on Like Nastia on YouTube and letting their kids sit there for an hour is not the same to the big media as watching Little Mermaid for some reason. But it's like, hey, they watch Little Mermaid for an hour and 10 minutes. They've watched Like Nastia for 17 hours this week.
It's also like you're watching Little Mermaid. It's a story. It's a script. The actor is not even playing themselves. When you're watching like Nastia, I'm not super familiar with her content, but you're creating an actual parasocial relationship and
Exactly
with
right.
your viewers, which should be super important to the brands. Because then, like, if she wants to promote a product, it has more weight because it's like she's being real. They know the real her, not just an actress reading a script, right? Which, like, yes, some YouTube channels are just like that at this point. But, like, I feel like that has a lot more value to brands, or should.
But Nick, that's the power of creators. Creators, I always say this, like always, Nick. It's like creators are just the people's media. That's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like the media companies lost, the people won. Now you have Nick Pro sitting in Ottawa talking to the entire global community of parkour. Sorry about that. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you know where I see it the most, Nick, is in the commerce side. It's like if you buy something over $100 without watching a YouTube review first, you've lost your mind. You no, like I haven't bought a car in 10 years without watching 10 YouTube reviews of the thing. Because why? It's just the people's media, man. It's like if you want to be a brand and you want to put something out in the world today, like let's say you're this new parkour brand, right? And you develop this shoe that like helps you stick landings better, right? You could do the sickest ad in the world, but as soon as Nick gets that shoe, if that shoe doesn't do what it says it does, you're done. You can't underestimate the power of regular people being able to control how other people perceive things. And that's the other kind of beautiful side of creator marketing is like, these are the people talking to your people. This is not Turner Media talking through a person who gets paid $20 million a year to tell me the news. This is a guy named Nick who grew up just like me, who's a Canadian guy, who's worked his butt off, who doesn't know shit about media. He knows shit about what he does, and he knows social, and he works hard, and people love it. And like that's a very different place to come from in a conversation than, you know, I was hired to do this, or I was, you know, invested in to do this, or, you know, that's the passion. So now when you get guys like Mark Rober, for instance, who's like, Nick, one of my favorite, like I've never worked with him, never met him, but I'm in love with him. And I have been for like 7 years. He's one of my favorite creators of my whole career. Why? Because, bro, he's changing how young people view science on his own, you know, and he's doing things that better the world in every video if you look for it. And he's stewarding such a beautiful persona into the world like you do. That's like, it's impossible not to love it. So like there to me is absolutely no comparison of any media ever, fucking ever, that's the same as what you guys do. And that's what I'm trying to like, once that unlocks fully, Nick, it's game over.
But like if Ford was to pay me to do a commercial, I have to label it. So people know that like, okay, cool. So whatever this opinion might be is like just a commercial. So that's good that like people know now that like, if it's an ad, it's very clearly said like in the video, in the caption, whatever. So it's like, they know that it might not be like a perfect representation. So it's nice that like the audience is safe from like, I don't know, scamming.
I would say that like 95% or more of our talent is very concerned with the type of products that they market or that they promote. They're concerned, and naturally, not big, you know, and money's obviously plays a major role for everybody at different phases of their life. So you can't underestimate the power of like financial incentive. But I would tell you, man, every conversation, like the creator's very, I really want to try this thing. Like I would really hate myself if I was paid to say something I didn't believe. So that's the other beautiful part. It's like you go to a news network and you say, run this ad. They're like, fucking when? Like when do you want it to go? Great, sure. Right? When you go to a creator, you have that little bit of human element of filtering that I think is special, because I think a good brand deal with a creator is okay. You know what I mean? Like it's like, to me, when I see a creator do an ad for something and it's really endemic to what they do, I'm like, congratulations to them, because they deserve it, because that's what's helping them to do what they do. And if they really love it, it's even fucking better, right? So there's a little bit of a beauty in that. But listen, Nick, we've been talking for quite a while already, man, and I feel like I could chat with you forever. Wanted to, congratulate you. I know you got some cool stuff kind of going on. I really wanted to thank you on behalf of the Viral Nation team for trusting us, man, and being a part of our team. It means the world to all of us. And I want to thank you for your time today, man. And it's been really nice chatting with you, and I hope we can continue to chat.
Well, there's never been a reason not to trust you guys. Like, you guys are awesome. Your family, it's just, I don't know, you guys have just such a beautiful team that, like, there's never been a reason not to trust you guys.
I appreciate that, man. And that if that ever changes, you call me directly, Nick, and it gets solved in 20 minutes, I promise.